Everyone, welcome tonight to tonight's shir. We have a special shir tonight. Tonight is shir number, Rabbi Solomon, you ready?
31.
31, excellent. Wow, kept count. And we want to, first of all, again, I always start off thanking everybody that's really helping it grow, because people that come on every week are talking about it and they're posting on the WhatsApp statuses, they're emailing. We're getting so much feedback. I'm going to talk about it right now, actually, because it's very interesting. It's just that people are letting people know about it. It's really chav d'chaver yisloch. People are talking about it, and that's how people are coming here. As you see, it's going to start filling up. And it's really a place for Sunday night people to come, bring on the best of the best. Rabbi Yaakov Salomon is already number twice here. We don't like to bring back people twice, so it's a big compliment, I have to tell you. Obviously, people want you back.
I'll take it. I'll take the compliment. We could all.
I wanted to again thank everybody for helping it get out there. I'm going to recap a little. Last week we had a very big show with Rabbi Yaakov Jacobson, and it was a packed house, and so many things happened this year. We got so many emails of people that are going through tremendous hardships, and a lot of chesed would happen during this year. People help people, and tremendous need. I just wanted to say, in front of everybody, we were very, very moved by last week's share. I'm sure Menachem will get into it. And for all those who are watching this video on YouTube afterwards, it's recorded. Please don't forget to subscribe to Coach Menachem's channel, so anytime a new video comes out, you get notified about it. Also, hit the like button. And if I want to start off first with thanking all the advertising sponsors, the Lakewood Scoop for over here, always promoting us here in Lakewood. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Chazak, Rabbi Yaniv from Chazak, for always offering programming to all. Go to chazak.org. Special thank you to Chayla Kaplan, Shmuel Summer from JCN, Jewish Content Network, for always promoting us across all the Jewish platforms. Really appreciate it. Tonight we also have one of the sponsors, the Z Stander, high quality lucite tabletop stenders. The popular Z adjustment sit or stand model is customizable with personalized engraving, making it a perfect Hanukkah gift. If you can still order it in time, I don't know. Available at zstander.com. ZSTANDER.com. Each week we give it to our speakers. Rabbi Solomon got one. You used it ready for Shabbos or not yet?
No, I can't open it. It's too much tape on it.
Okay, listen, it's got to be protected, but enjoy it, and I just want everybody to know about it. Next Sunday is going to be December 13th. It's going to be Hanukkah. We will not be having a shir. Me and Menachem made a corporate decision that since people will be having the Sunday Hanukkah parties with the family, and we decided, something, let's just take a week off. We try to be very consistent, but next Sunday will not be a shir. So the next show will be December 20th. It's every Sunday night. It's going to be Matis Miller, one of the big therapists here in Lakewood. He actually wrote a book discussing, many years being a therapist, dealing with unconsolable children, very difficult children, and he's integrating his DBT methods that he learned over the years with dealing with children. And I actually had a long talk with him about it, and it sounds very interesting. And anybody who has children, I would definitely listen to it. So hope to see everybody December 20th. Coach Menachem, the host, please open up tonight.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi Asher. Welcome to another show, and let's get real with Coach Menachem, show number 31. And thank you, Rabbi Solomon, for coming back. There was a lot of positive feedback. And like I said before, who believed last time we spoke that this is where we're going to be? And Bechlal, about COVID, we hope that it wouldn't be on the table. But I think it's still around, everybody in their situation. Thank you for all the sponsors, for the anonymous sponsors that sponsored anonymously on CoachMenachem.com and helped us continue with our mission. So the title tonight is How to Stay Sane in an Insane World. Now, if you're looking at me or look at the title and you're wondering what's going on, you're pretty much doing great and trying to figure out why are we calling this insane world, then I would invite you to open your camera, share with us how you do it. We would love to hear from you, how you live the peace and calm life. But for many of us, we're having a hard time with even basic stress, day-to-day things, and and what's going on in the world in general, talking about whether it's COVID, people have had real hardships, and with what's going on in the world, with the elections and predicting who knows what. So I just want to share a little bit about stress. I'm sure we'll hear much more from Rabbi Solomon, but have you ever felt while you're sitting on the couch and it looks like you're relaxing, not doing anything, and for some reason you feel this nervousness, something going on. You're just not relaxing. So obviously, even though your body is sitting and relaxing, but your mind is racing with so many thoughts, worrying thoughts, things that happened or what's going to be tomorrow. And you actually feel it in your body, even though it looks like you're relaxing. So the same way when you have a room that's full of clutter, when you walk in, you're tripping all over the place. There's so much going on. You just need to put things away so you can see what's going on, so you can walk in. The same thing you have to do with your mental space. Everybody's mental space needs to be decluttered. It could be pressure at work, facing hardship with family, difficult relationships, or handling all of these battles. And from the outside, it could look like you're managing, but inside your mind, which is really controlling the way you feel, is clogged, and you feel clogged up and sometimes even breathless. You have a hard time. So the question is how to declutter. And Menachem tonight we'll hear more. And before we start, I have to mention, like Rabbi Yaakov Salomon mentioned at the end of our share last time, that we need tefillah and siyata d'shmaya, because at the end of the day, Hashem is the one who runs the world. And again, it starts with logically. It takes time till we take it in and we feel that way. But to believe that whatever happens to a person is Yad Hashem. Hashem is running the world, and we can rely on him. So just a few ideas. Number one, to find the things that make you happy in life. Sounds easy. Yes, it might be work. Number two is exercising. You can wonder sometimes, what would exercise help? But there is research that just by doing some exercise every day, it helps declutter the mind. And then another thing is how to zoom out, which maybe we'll hear more about tonight. And just one more thing before I give back the mic to Rabbi Asher, is called mindfulness. It's interesting to see that most of the time stress is either things that happened in the past or what am I going to do about it tomorrow? But now it's usually not in a crisis mode. And if you are, yes, you might have to get help right away. But b'derech klal, you can look at where you're sitting now, sitting in front of a computer or on the phone. What's going on now is okay, even if there's financial stress or other things going on. So there is stress about what am I going to do about it tomorrow. But for now, I can take a deep breath and at least enjoy the moment. Well, easier said than done. And there's a lot more to go into to be able to learn these skills. But hopefully in Menachem tonight, we'll be able to hear a little bit through you people sharing and listening to the answers to be able to take some skills, practical skills, so we'll be able to put them to practice in Menachem with Siyata D'Shmaya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Coach Menachem, for opening up. Tonight's share was sponsored by the Lazili Group. It's a recruiting agency that does executive level placements. Whether you're looking for a new job or a better opportunity, please feel free to reach out. Confidentiality is of utmost importance to us. Resumes or inquiries can be sent to resumes at the Lazili Group. That's RESUMES at the Lazili Group, the Lazili, THELAZULI.com, or feel free to message at 347-452-1880. That's 347-452-1880. And before Rabbi Yaakov Salomon starts, just in case anybody doesn't know here, Baruch Hashem, we have a large crowd this evening. Rabbi Solomon, this is when the Toilem starts coming in. They want to get some different chizik. So I'm going to read your bio. So everybody who doesn't know who you are will read it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Rabbi Yaakov Salomon, LCSW, is a noted psychotherapist. He's in private practice in Brooklyn, New York, and in Lakewood, New Jersey for over 35 years. He served as a senior lecturer, creative director of Eish HaTorah's Discovery Productions. He's also editor and author of the Art Scroll Publishing Series. Rabbi Solomon received his BA in psychology from the City University of New York. He graduated with honors from the Hunter's College School of Social Work. listen, I got to make sure you're a psychologist, right? You got to come on. I got to bill insurance after this. We got to make sure it's legal.
Skip it.
Rabbi Solomon is the co-author with Rabbi Noah Weinberg Zatzal of the best-selling book, What Angels Taught You, 7 Keys to Life Fulfillment, and the author of Something to Think About, Extraordinary Reflections About Extraordinary Events. And Solomon Says, all published by ArtScroll. He's the co-author, he's the co-producer of the highly acclaimed Kiev films Inspired and Inspired 2, Kiev Across America. He's also the creator and director of iProd, Hidden Yidden, The Shake, and several other inspirational films. He writes a weekly column, Out of the Box, and timely issues from the FJJ. I guess that's why Mr. Morty's here. Rabbi Solomon's video blog, Solomon Says, or H.com, was seen weekly for 10 years by hundreds of thousands of people across the world. His speaking, writing, and musical talents have delighted audiences from Harvard to Broadway and everything in between. He lives in Jackson, New Jersey, surrounded by his loving family. Rabbi Yaakov Salomon, the floor is yours.
Wow. Wow, I sound great. Good evening, everybody. That's very impressive. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Should have prepared, right? I first, I have to. I think I don't always tune in every Sunday night, but I think I should. Sometimes I watch it afterwards, the next day or the day after. But you guys, Rabbi Usher and Rabbi Menachem, as we say, you've created a monster. So you created a monster 31 weeks ago, and look what happened. So I often say in Taisha the Pasuk, Tenu Oizle Lekim. How do you give strength to Hashem? Tenu Oizle Lekim. How do you do that? So I say that the way you do it is you create a keli. You create a kli, and then the Kosh Baruch Hu wants to give you bracha. But if you don't create the kli, there's no place to put it. So you created the kli, and I think he just dropped it in. So you have tremendous chusim. You should go weiter and weiter. What's the draw of this platform? That's a big word today, platform. What's the draw of this platform? I think the fact is not the speakers necessarily, I don't care what the bio says, but I think the fact that it's live, there's something about it being live that people said, wow, what's happening right now, maybe Solomon will say something stupid because it's live and we'll catch him in a ridiculous thing or something like that. Something about being live is very, very attractive. So I don't change that part of it, okay? Don't tape it before in advance, whatever you do. You gave me a few minutes for opening before we opened the questions. So I had some thoughts about how to open tonight. I want to begin by telling you a story that many of you have heard. Could be they've heard from me in the past. It's one of my favorite personal stories. And it has particular relevance to what we're talking about this evening. Many years ago, when I began my career in the mental health field, I befriended a psychiatrist. And this psychiatrist told me one day something really fascinating. He said to me, quote, I remember my first day on the job. Every professional has a first day on the job. Every Rebbe has a first day. Every accountant has a first, every moil has a first day. I don't want to be in the room then, but even a psychiatrist, he has day one on the job. This is what happened to him on his first day on the job. Ready? He goes to the hospital. He's working in a mental hospital, and he's going on rounds. They go rounds, they meet all the patients, and there's a team of psychiatrists that join together with him. He walks into a particular room, and he walks in and they introduce him to the patient. They say, Dr. O'Connor, this is Mr. O'Toole. He says, oh, how do you do, Mr. O'Toole? And they talk for a few seconds. And then Dr. O'Connor turns to the doctors and say, why is Mr. O'Toole in the mental hospital? So they say, well, he's here because Mr. O'Toole believes that he is a zombie. I said, oh, okay. So I said, remember, it's my first day on the job. So I turned to Mr. O'Toole there in the room in front of everybody. And I say to Mr. O'Toole, tell me, why do you think you're a zombie? So he looks at me and he goes, well, it's quite obvious that I'm a zombie because zombies do not bleed. So I'm thinking to myself, he says to me, I'm thinking to myself, it's my first day on the job. I'm going to cure somebody on my first day on the job from the mental hospital. This is the easiest job in the world. So I run back to the nurse's station and I get a little needle. And I come back into the room and I say, Mr. Toole, give me your finger, please. So I get the finger and I take his finger and I give a little prick in his finger like that, and the blood starts coming out. So I show Mr. O'Toole his finger and I said, Mr. O'Toole, take a look. What do you think of that? So Mr. O'Toole looks at it and he says, oh my God, he said, I was wrong. Zombies do bleed. Now, I can't hear you because they muted you, but they shouldn't. Actually, you should have opened it because everybody laughs at that. And it's a true story. It's a true story. The guy says, zombies do bleed. Now, why are we laughing at that story? We laugh at that story because it's really funny. What's so funny about it? What's funny about it is that we expect him to say, I was wrong, I'm not a zombie. But that's not what he says. He says, I was wrong, zombies do bleed. In other words, this guy O'Toole, he has a problem with the facts. You see, if he understood the facts, he would say, look at Zane and say, well, I guess I'm not a zombie, but I just told you that would be logical. But he doesn't work that way because the mind of a schizophrenic is a little bit different than most people. I think that what's going on today, frankly, is that could be, if you don't mind my saying, since you're muted anyway, I think we're all zombies. I know, I see you shaking your head. I think we're all zombies. And if you weren't a zombie like a year ago or 6 months ago, you're definitely a zombie now. Because by now, because we don't know the facts anymore. There are no facts anymore. We used to live in a world of facts. We used to live in a world of reality. We used to live in a world where we could understand things, we could trust things. There's such a thing as probability or science. There's nothing anymore. There's nothing anymore. The Rebbeinu Shalom has taken this world, give it a little shake, a big shake, flipped it upside down, and this is what we're at. So now we're a bunch of zombies. We're all together. No matter what it is, the facts simply don't matter anymore. We're faced with these the threats of lockdown. What a word, by the way, lockdown. Oh, it's such a positive expression, We're gonna have a lockdown. I think what has happened really is that our brains are on lockdown. We have locked down our brains. And why has this happened? Simply because we are faced with an unusual problem. Now, I'm not a young guy. I grew up there. Every generation has had their problems, and every generation said, oh, it's never been like this before. And you know what? That we were right, because it never was like this before. But when we say like now, it never was like this before, we need something completely different. The experience of what we're going through now is the mystery, the confusion of the unknown. We have been thrust into a planet where suddenly we know nothing. We know nothing. I jotted down a few questions that we all have, I think, or some of you have all of the questions, and all of you have some of the questions. I'm going to just knock off some of these questions because these are the things that are rattling in my head and in the people that I see rattling in their heads. And this is what we're up to. And you tell me if you don't relate to some of these. Ready? Is the news fake or real? Does anyone know? Who should we trust? Who should we believe? Do masks work? Does social distancing matter? Will New York City ever recover? Who actually voted for Cuomo and why? Who will be the president in January? Should schools be open? Should I go to chasanas? Should I daven inside or outside? Why did Hashem send the pandemic? How do I become a better person? When is Mashiach really coming? Did my vote count? Were the Dominion machines really made in Venezuela? When can I go to Eretz Yisrael? Are quarantines really necessary? Does hydroxychloroquine really work? Are the rapid COVID tests accurate? How long do antibodies last? Are the vaccines safe? Should I take it? Must I worry every time I sneeze? Will my child recover from not going to school for 6 months? Will my bank account ever recover? When? Should I hoard paper towels? Does Dr. Fauci know anything? Does anybody know anything? Should I buy stock in Pfizer, in Zoom? What happened to Fox News? Is there really more anti-Semitism now more than ever? How did Giuliani really get COVID-19? Is Hunter Biden really a criminal? V'chahena, v'chahena, v'chahena. Now you tell me, I don't believe that there's anybody, what do we have, like 400 people on participating already? I don't believe there's anybody that can't relate to some or maybe most of these questions. What in blazes is going on? How is it, people say anxiety is the rage of the generation. My question is not why, my question is, how could anybody not be anxious? We have been thrust into a place where we know nothing. You can't feel more helpless than when you know nothing. You can't trust anything. You don't know what's real. You don't know what can be trusted, nothing. And those of you who were not anxious before, well, after I read those questions, you're probably anxious now. So at least I picked up a few appointments for tomorrow. At any rate, you got to wonder, first of all, you have to have a sense of humor or else you'll just fall apart. But besides that, how do we deal with all this? How do we deal with all this anxiety? Anxiety that I believe we have never faced before. So Rabbi Menachem correctly said before, there are a couple of things, and I want to tell you just a couple of ideas about how to treat yourself, so to speak, so you don't have to make appointments and you don't have to go on medication and things like that, which are not the best ways to do it. You can do things at home. You can do things that you can try on your own that will make you at least feel a little bit more relief. And then I want to talk about one in particular. So Menachem mentioned certainly about exercise, which is really important. Of course, I'm talking to myself, talking about exercise that people just somehow can't get to do enough of, but they do actually have a chemical, make a chemical difference, relieving the stress hormones in your body. It makes a big difference. If you can, even a few minutes a day makes a big difference. There's one method of dealing with anxiety that nobody wants to hear, and that is less caffeine. Ooh, oh boy, I touched a very sore topic there. Less caffeine will actually help you. Another idea is writing. I do a lot of writing, and it's very helpful for people to write down their fears. When you write them down, you have a sense that you're a little bit in control of it. So it helps a little bit if you can keep a little notepad and write down the things that you are concerned about, worried about, afraid of, etc. Speaking with family, very, very important. Turning off the news, I spoke about that 5 months ago. That is major. That is major. There's nothing on the news that's good. Nothing that's going to make you happy. You're not going to hear a ktsois or a cilantro on the news. Make sure that you taper it down just a little bit. Deep breathing is really very helpful. If it gets very, very anxious, deep breathing. And by the way, most people do not know how to breathe. And I don't want to spend time doing it now, but breathing should be done through the nose. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu gave you a nose. By the way, you know those little hairs you have in your nose? You don't have to show me, but you know those little hairs you have in your nose? Usher, you have them? Yeah, you have them. Kadosh Baruch Hu put them there because it's a filtration system. Those hairs are there to filter out all the impurities in the air. So you should breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. Deep breathing can help you relax a little bit. Talking about your fears is the best thing you could do. Don't keep them inside. You don't need a therapist for that. You could talk to your friends. You won't have any friends anymore, but don't worry about it. You'll pick up new ones. You talk to your neighbors. You talk to Menachem. You could just talk about your fears, very important. But the two main things that we have to get to in speaking about how to handle your anxiety are pretty obvious, but are most important. And for that, I put on my rabbinic hat. And the first, of course, is bitachon. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about bitachon later, but people ask me that all the time. And I believe that that's number one. The most potent ammunition that we have in our arsenal is bitachon. to be able to say, Hashlech al Hashem Yehavcha, put your troubles into Ribono Shel Olam's hands. Have bitachon, because he's the one who got you here in the first place. You have to work on your bitachon. You have to work on it. It doesn't come easily. It doesn't come automatic. It doesn't come by just sitting and saying the Ani Mamins. That's very nice. Even after every day you say the Ani Mamins is a beautiful thing, but it's not going to just happen. You have to learn. You have to, there are many, many Sfarim today, English and not in English, that speak about bitachon. It's a very, very popular topic today. I'm not here to push any particular one of them. Get a book, read it. My wife and I, I'll tell you, I'll confess to you, frankly, my wife and I every night learn in a sefer called Faith Over Fear. Every night we spend a few minutes on it, and it sinks in. It sinks in after a while. You start getting the message that you really can believe and have true bitachon. Very important. And the last thing I want to mention before I turn it back is, of course, tefillah. And I know people talk about tefillah all the time. I want to give you a refreshing thought, an original thought about tefillah from Noach Weinberg, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who was a master at tefillah, a master at bitachon, a master teacher, and he gave a very original, logical, reasonable approach that I believe can transform your davening. I know you've heard it all before. You heard it all before, yeah, sure, no, that. But this is very different. If you haven't heard it before, if you have, it's kedai to chazer it, and if you have not heard it before, you'll see how simple and how logical it really is and how to approach tefillah. Rabbi Noach said that the secret, the real secret to an effective tefillah, everybody wants their tefillahs to be answered, and not just answered no, but answered yes. Everybody wants that. So Rabbi Noach said the secret lies in a pasuk from 3,000 years ago that David HaMelech wrote, and we say it 3 times every day, and we don't even realize what we're saying. The pasuk is very, very common. We all know it very well. Karoiv Hashem l'chol koi ra'av l'chol asher yikru b'emes. Pasuk in Ashrei, Hashem is close to everyone who calls out to him. L'chol koi ra'av. He's close to all of you, but there is one stipulation. L'chol asher yikra'uhu. Say it together. Be'emes. Be'emes. Now, what does that mean, be'emes? Emes, of course, means truth, but you're davening, you're not telling lies. What does that mean, truth? So Rabbi says that you have to call out to him in a real way, to be real with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The word relationship comes from the word real. This program is called Real. That's what it's all about, getting real. And you get real with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he feels close to you. Now, how do you do that? How do you get real with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So this is the one example that he gives. There are many parts to it, but just because of time, let's give this one example. The one example of what it means to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a real way. It says, who is this HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we are davening to? Who is he? Well, of course, we say, Hashem is one. What does one mean? One doesn't just mean one, not two. We know that. But one means HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one, and in his perfection, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything. What does that mean, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already is everything? Because there are 2 components that we need in order to be sure that we're davening to the right creator. What are those 2 components? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is capable of giving you anything you want. He has the achilas. He can do it. It is within his power. He can give you anything, number 1. And number 2, he wants to give you everything. It's not only that you want it, you want a shidduch. You have good health. You want nachas from your kids. You want some parnasa. You want some simchas achayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that also for you. He's able to give it to you, and he wants to give it to you. It is the perfect combination. It is what we call Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu, our Father, means he wants to give you everything. And Malkeinu, our King, he can give you everything. You hear that? It's just a simple concept. Avinu Malkeinu can give you everything, wants to give you everything. That's who he is. Now, what does this mean to be real with Hashem? Listen to this mashal, this simple story. And I think if you hear it, and if you've never heard it before, you'll never forget it because it's so simple. He says something that is astounding. He says something that is astounding. He says that contrary to popular belief, when we daven, no matter what it is that we're davening for, no matter how big or how small it may seem to be, ready? We should expect that we're going to get it. This is called being real. How do you know that that's true? Don't most people approach davening very differently? Don't we say like, really don't deserve it, but if you can, maybe when you're not looking, when you're not so busy, you could give us a little money, give us a little nachas, if you want, like almost begging, but we really don't really think it's going to happen. Noach says that's not real. Being real means that you expect that he's Avinu Malkeinu. He can and he will, and he wants to, and he will deliver. What you want, he will deliver. How do you know that that's real? It's very simple. Avinu Shabashamayim. We are Banim Atem Lashem L'Keichem. We are his children, right? So let's imagine, very simply, that one day a son calls up his father and he says, Dad, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a little talk with you. He says, sure, go ahead. What do you want to talk about? He says, no. I want to talk in person. He says, oh, you want to talk in person? I said, okay. So maybe we could talk tomorrow. I said, okay, tomorrow's good. Tell me, what would you like to talk about? He said, no, I don't want to talk on the phone. Dad, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk. Yeah, can't you give me a little hint? Like, what is it that you want? I'll prepare a little bit. What do you want to talk about? He said, no, I don't want to tell you. It says, it's money, right? Yeah. Of course. You don't want to talk about it, it's money. You want to talk about money. Okay, listen, come tomorrow in my office, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we'll have an official appointment, okay, and then we'll talk. Fine. He hangs up the phone. The kid can't sleep all night. He's so worried, he's so anxious, this and that. He comes the next day, he has a cup of coffee in one hand, he has another cup of coffee. He's got 2 coffees, and he's shaking like a leaf. He comes into his father's office, he's knocking on the door, he said, and he's spilling coffee all over the carpet. His father walks in, he's schwitzing, he's draining, he's completely verklapt. He walks and says, oh, and his father looks at him and he says, look at you, what happened to you? He says, come in. He kind of brings him to a chair, sits him down. He's all nervous. He says, tell me what's wrong. What happened? What is it? He says, Dad, he said, look, he says, I need something from you. He says, okay, tell me, what is it that you need? I'm here for you. I'm your father. What is it that you need? He said, well, I don't really know how to ask you. Don't give me the whole runaround. I see you're a wreck. Just tell me, what do you want? Well, you see, Dad, I need a loan. You see, I told you it was money. I told you it's money. It's money, of course, money. I got it. Okay, how much do you need? Okay, you got into trouble? Okay, how much do you need? So again, the kid starts draining. Well, I'm not really sure. I worked it up all night. I was trying to figure out exactly. Okay, just skip it, okay? Just tell me, how much do you need? And the boy says, look, Dad, the truth is, I need a nickel. You what? He said, I need a nickel. You're joking. You need a nickel? What are you talking about? Father goes to the phone. He's dialing Hatzalah already. No, let's take the kid away. Bring him to the zombie hospital. What's going on here? He says, what are you talking? You need a nickel? He says, Dad, it's only a loan. I told you. Oh boy, he's really lost it. He wants a nickel and it's a loan. He said, what are you talking about? Is this crazy? Or is a ridiculous story? Crazy story. Now, is there any question that the father would give him a nickel? This is not even a discussion, right? A stranger gives nickels, quarters, dollars. Well, what's he doing? What is this story about? You see, when a boy comes to his father and he asks for a nickel, it's not a real request. You know what it is? It's an insult. Come to your father, you have a whole meeting, you come in, you're shaking, you're spilling coffee on the carpet, and that's what you want, a nickel. And yet, believe it or not, think of it, isn't that what we do? Because no matter what it is that you're asking for, and we're talking about really important things, not nickels. We're talking about really important things. We want health. We don't want to be afraid anymore. We want answers. We want Mashiach. We want parnasa. We want nachas. We want all the kids to be good. But we want time to learn. We want kishroinus. We want everything to be working. There are so many important things in our lives. But the truth is, Rabbi Sai, the truth is, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what they are? Say it. Nickels. For HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's just nickels. It doesn't matter if it's the Himalayan mountains or the Mediterranean Sea or your DNA or your kidneys or the Gulf of Mexico. It doesn't matter what it is. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't expend more effort creating Mount Everest than he does giving you the kishron to make a spoon. It's the same thing to him. And how many nickels does a Kadosh Baruch Hu have? An infinite amount of nickels. He has everything. The fact is that whatever it is that you're asking for, he has already given you more than that to begin with. He gave you your sight and your brains and your family and your home and your clothing and everything that he's given you has already given you so much. So whatever it is that we're asking for, as important as it is, to Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's nickels. That's the truth. And just like you wouldn't walk into your father and ask him for a nickel and say it's a loan, we have to walk into HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to our tefillas, not demand, but expect that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can and will give us those nickels. When we do that, then it's l'chol asher yikru mess. That's real. That's a relationship. If we don't do that, it's not a relationship, it's an insult. If we don't have to worry about whether we deserve it or not. That's not what tefillah is about. Everything's a matnas chinam. Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it to us, he gives it because he loves us and he wants to do us. He's our Father in heaven. When you talk to your Father, that's how you speak. So this idea, if you can incorporate it into your tefillas, will help big time in terms of your anxiety. My request in the name of Rabbi Noach Weinberg, so we put a little piece of this into our davening, just a little piece of this, and say, Tata in Himmel, we're really talking to you. We're really talking to our Father. And we're really asking him for all those things that we think are so big and so difficult. But for him, it's a snap. It's just nickels. And by the way, when your father gives you a nickel, he's a nickel poorer. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu gives you a nickel, he just makes more nickels. He's not poorer. He's able to do it. And if we believe it, and we believe it, and we show that we believe it, and we expect that he will answer our tefillas, if we do that, that's a different tefillah. That's a relationship. That's real. And on top of all of that, it'll just about cure your anxiety and put Yaakov Salomon out of business. Now, how's that? Huh? Yeah, it's clapping already. That's the idea. This is a revolutionary approach, if you will, that I decided to share with you. If you've heard it before, my apologies, but it's good to chazar it over. The truth is, I need that chazara too. Because when we're davening and the men know at breakneck speed in some shul where it's flying, It's very hard to concentrate and remember that we're really speaking to our Father and that He can and He's Avinu Malkeinu and He can and He wants to. When you do all that together, then you've developed a relationship, and that is the goal. And with that, we should all be able to conquer all of our fears, reduce all of our anxieties throughout the election and throughout the corona. It should go away, b'karev, and through all the vaccine questions and everything we have, we should get clarity and Yishuv Hadas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Solomon. Whoa. I think you answered all the questions. Can we have any questions after that? Just tell everybody have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, let's get into it. We're gonna give you a little break. We're gonna do a little poll just to get everybody into it, like we always do, and then we're gonna have. We got a lot of questions, tons of emails, and again, Rabbi Solomon asked for everybody to please make it interactive. Everybody should please turn on your camera. Feel free to ask a question. We're here tonight. We have him. Let's hop around. So let's take a poll question, just to get a feeling from everybody. Oh, it's not working. Somebody else logged in. Try it. Oh, here we go. Okay. Everybody sees the screen. It says over here, in what area of your life is the most stressful for you currently? It's one of 5 choices. Either A, financial, B, shalom bias, C, children, D, spirituality, or E, unknown future. You're worried about the future. So again, the first question is about what's the most stressful area for you right now currently in your life. The second question is a follow-up question. Who do you discuss your stressors, concerns with? I don't. I keep it to myself. Rabbi Solomon, that sounds healthy, right?
No, I am.
My spouse, a close friend, a therapist, or my Rav. So again, I'll repeat the questions. Everybody, please answer them. It's anonymous. We don't know who's saying what, just to get a feeling. In what area of your life is the most stressful for you? Financial, shalom bias, children, spirituality, unknown future. Second question is, who do you discuss your stressors or concerns with? I don't. I keep it to myself, my spouse, close friend, therapist, my Rav. 5 seconds. You can see the answer, by the way, Rabbi Solomon. Nobody can see it yet. So.
Oh, my. Pretty surprising.
Yeah, actually pretty surprising.
It is pretty surprising. I would
The
not.
second one is surprising.
I would not have guessed this.
Okay, here we go. You ready? I'm going to share with everybody. Check this out. Okay, what area of your life is the most stressful for you? 21% of the people say financial, 14% say shalom bias, whopping 28% of people say children. 9% spirituality, and 28% is the unknown future. They're worried about the future. It's interesting. This is the unknown future and children are basically the same.
Right.
Okay, the second question is, who do you discuss your stresses and concerns with? 27% of people said, I don't, I keep it to myself. 39% said my spouse. Pretty impressive. I think that's the right answer, right, Rabbi Solomon?
There are a few, whatever works,
90% say a close friend, 30% say a therapist, and 3% say their Rav. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's get into a few questions that we got emailed. Me and Menachem went through some of them. I would think it's good. But again, anybody wants to ask a question, please text me. We can put you on live. Live goes first. If you want to just text a question, text it to me. And again, Rabbi Solomon wants it to be interactive. Please turn on your cameras. Let's get the most out of him. I'll start with the first question. Okay, Rabbi Solomon, you ready?
I'm ready.
My husband and I are married for 18 years, and we, Baruch Hashem, have 5 beautiful children. The last 2 to 3 years have been especially difficult as we face some serious parnasa issues and a serious illness in the family. But more than any other stresses is the path that our oldest son seems to have chosen. So again, they have financial issues, they have health issues, but the biggest problem is that their son, he's in 10th grade and he has no interest in learning whatsoever. His role models are volunteers of Chaverim. And his friends just hang out, do nothing. He can't get up in the morning, even if I wake him up 9 or 10 times. His siblings see how upset we are and resent him for it. I think we are losing it and losing him. Any adracha you could offer would be greatly appreciated.
My. Well, my heart goes out to you. I don't think it's that unusual. This person is writing, it's things that I hear a lot of. The family's having trouble with their, as they say, 10th grader, it said? 10th grader. I have a few thoughts about it. Number one, I remember going to a talk from Jonathan Rietti, a wonderful, wonderful speaker and big mechanech. He said an interesting thing. He said the word gomel chasadim tovim, gomel means to give. At the same time, the the Torah tells us that Avram Avinu made a mishteh. He made a party on the day b'yoim he gomel Sarah, the gomel Sarah as Yitzchak, and the day that Sarah stopped nursing Yitzchak, she weaned Yitzchak, and he made a party. Now look at that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a vast amount of words to choose from. He takes the same word, gomel, and the gomel means two things, and they're the opposite. Gomel means to give, and gomer means to wean, to stop giving. Why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu use the same word to give and to stop giving? Great question, right? Great question. Listen to this incredible answer he gave. The answer that he gave was, he said, sometimes the greatest gift that a parent can give their child is when they stop giving. Now, I hear my phone's ringing already, and my kids are calling me up, and they want to know why I cut them off, and they're not getting the checks, etc. I'm not telling you to stop giving to your children. That's not what I mean, okay? However, fascinating answer. Sometimes we give and give, but really what we need to do is to pull back and to stop giving. Now, I'm not saying that these parents in particular are hovering over their children, they're helicopter parents, as we call them, but it might be so. And sometimes a child needs a little space, especially a 10th grader. And when you give that space, when you stop giving so much, and you just let it go and let them go, you're giving them the greatest gift possible. That's gomel, that's a gift. It's very hard for parents to do that. But if they were sitting in my office, the first thing I would tell them is, stop waking him up 9 or 10 times in the morning. A lot of parents have the same problem with their kids, and it's very difficult, very hard to stop. But I tell parents all the time, do not wake them up. Well, if I don't wake them up, they're not going to get up. Well, guess what? They're not getting up anyway. And even if they do, they're not growing. And it's in 10th grade, they need to get up on their own. Now, if they ask you the night before and they say, please wake me, you say your answer is, I will wake you one time, but I'm not spending my entire morning waking you up. So they have to stop that. They have to make him more independent. Making him more independent will give him a chance to spread his wings in a way that he can develop. And that's what he wants, and that's what he's asking for. And number two, I want to tell you, I remember when I was in yeshiva, there was a kid in high school, and that kid in high school, I remember, was not learning a word. And this went on in 9th grade and 10th grade, total waste. And in 11th grade, towards the middle or the end of the year, he was in a shiur with a Rebbe. In those days, a lot of the Rebbeim were Holocaust survivors. And he was in a shiur with the, and one day, this kid felt bad for the Rebbe because nobody was listening to him. He was an old man, and he was difficult, and he had a lot of difficulties on his own. And one day the kid felt bad for his Rebbe, and he said to his chavrusa, you know what? We should start learning just to do him a favor. And the reason that I know this story, as you can guess, is the kid was me. And I said to my chavrusa, let's learn because I feel so bad for him. And that's when I started learning. And then I found out later that a lot of kids start learning in 11th grade and even 12th grade. But a kid who's not learning in 10th grade, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it at all. And by the way, he has role models and chaverim. I love it. Those are great people. Then they get all my adulation in the world and all my praise. And let them use them as role models because they're doing great things. And never criticize your son for that. So let him spread his wings. Don't wake him up in the morning, and don't worry about the fact that he's not learning. Plenty of time for him to grow.
Thank you, Rabbi Solomon. We're getting a lot of live questions and a lot of questions to learn, so let's pick up the pace a little bit. Okay, you're on live.
Hi, Rabbi Solomon. I wanted to thank you for what you mentioned about with the, how to ask Hashem for what we need. Can you just expand a little bit? Like, it's exactly what I needed to hear. I always feel the sense of like, I'm asking for a nickel and who am I to ask for it? But how do we like strike a balance and not come across as though we're entitled? Like, okay, Hashem, I know you have it, so let's go, give it to me. How do we find that middle ground? Like, what should we have in mind so that we're not coming across in an insulting way, like a schnurr, but at the same time, not coming across like, let's go. Why aren't you giving this to me, Hashem? How do we, what should we have in mind?
It's a good question. I like the question. First of all, I don't know you, but I'd be very shocked if you come across that way in your tefillah. You don't sound like you're gonna run into that problem. That's just my guess. I know I'm making a little quick assessment over there, but I don't think that you're going to be demanding or flip or cavalier about the whole situation at all. And number two is when you speak to your parents, I would hope that we don't speak that way to our parents. And if we picture it and just picture that we're speaking to our parents, a mother or to a father, and you speak in a real way, and it comes out of genuine need, and it's not something that you're asking that is outlandish. You're not asking for a palace, and you're not asking to win the lottery, because you're asking for something that is reasonable. Then there's no reason why you can speak in a way that just says, you're my father, you're my parent, I'm your child. Nobody knows what I need better than you do. You know what I really need. So I'm hoping that you will give it to me, not because I deserve it or I don't deserve it. Moshe Rabbeinu himself, his biggest request to go into Eretz Yisrael, he had a lot of schusim. He could have said, look what I've done for the Jewish people. He had a resume this long, and he could have demanded from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He could have said, look what I did already. How about a little payback? Mida keneged mida. No, the eschanana Hashem. He asked only for a matana, a matnas chinam. And that's what we do. It's just coming out of love. And when you do that, I think it comes off very real.
Thank you.
What do we do with people that are concerned, they're not sure if they deserve, I don't know if deserve it, or how do I know if it's good for me? A lot of people are scared. I'm asking for something, but you, Hashem, know if it's good for me or not. So you're saying I should expect it, but I'm not sure if it's good for me.
It's a very good point, because if it's something that's not good for you, Kadosh Baruch Hu is not getting involved. He's not getting involved in something that's not good for you. No, oh, please let me get on that plane to Las Vegas so that I could, spend the night in the casino. And I don't think that's a reasonable tefillah. There's a very small chance of getting that one answered. But most people, I think, know whether something that they're asking for is going to be good for them. By the way, since you brought it up, it's a good point. It's important that we don't take anything for granted. In other words, when you ask for health, you shouldn't just say, cure me, cure my mother, cure my sister, make her healthy. You shouldn't just do that. Say, I want to be healthy. Well, what are you going to do if you're healthy? Well, I want to use it for the right reason. Well, I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to actually use my good health for some kind of avodas Hashem. If you're looking for money, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, great, you want to raise, great. But what are you going to do with it? So you have to plan what you want to do with that money. Anything that you have, even if it seems obviously fine, you still need to say, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to use it l'shem shamayim. If you're not doing that l'shem shamayim, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu is unlikely to respond. That's what I think.
Rabbi Solomon, I want to jump on a question over here. Somebody sent it in. We have a few live questions pending, but I think it's a very broad question, and I think it really hits a lot of points here.
Okay.
I have a lot of thoughts that I keep on ruminating, thinking over and over in my head, always a worst case scenario. It makes me feel completely depressed and totally frozen, like a deer in headlights. How can I talk to myself back to a more centered and calm place so I can enjoy all the good that Hashem currently gave me instead of focusing and being nervous about the negative?
I think she's talking about something that would probably fall into the category of obsessive thinking. And obsessive thinking is a little bit different than your everyday common anxiety. But a lot of people have it. When you have obsessive thoughts, and it doesn't mean that you have what we call very popular OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, you may not, but you may have no rituals, no compulsions, just obsessive thinking. Obsessive thinking, I believe, and I've had more success with it, treating it in this way. Obsessive thinking cannot be set aside and tossed away just by pushing hard. When you push hard on obsessive thoughts, they push back. It's a little bit like quicksand. And the more you say to yourself, I'm not going to think of it. I'm not going to think of it. I'm going to drive it away. Get out of my head. Get out of my head. The more you do that, the more it comes back. You're actually feeding it. You're fueling it. You're giving it power. Now we have a tug of war going. You don't want it. And if I have an arm wrestle with you, Menachem, you're right next to me on my screen. So I can also picture that we can have an arm wrestle. If you stick out your hand a little bit, yeah. And you see, if I let you win, you're not going to get much from it. If I put up a struggle, oh, you'll fight back. You'll fight back hard. And that's what happens in our brains. We fight back. That's our instinctive response. The best way I can tell this woman to work on her obsessions, believe it or not, is to let them come. Let them come in. Drop your armor, drop your hands, drop your arms, and just say, I am helpless. Come in. You want to move in? You want to establish residence in my brain? I got just the spot for you. Come on, here we go. You not only allow it to come in, believe it or not, you invite it to come in. And the reason that inviting it to come in is even better is because now you're really controlling it. Because you invited those thoughts in. When you invite the thoughts in, you could one day toss them out. Because you invited them. They're your guest. So the way you gain control over them is not by pushing them away. A lot of people try to distract their minds. Distraction is great. If it works, kol hakavod, it's marvelous. But people with real obsessions, distraction doesn't work. They just can't distract themselves. And this woman sounds like she can't distract herself. I would say to her, surrender. It's a word that everybody hates. Surrender, that's the last thing I want to do. Surrender. No, that's what I would tell her. Surrender. Give up the fight. When you give up the fight, you'll see you're going to take the edge off and they're going to start to calm down.
Thank you, Rabbi Solomon. I think it's a man, by the way.
Oh, I forget it. Well, strike everything.
I think it works both ways.
So the men try to go to learn and work.
If distraction works, it's fine.
The problem
It's
is
fine.
that when they go to sleep, they have a hard time.
It's fine. If the distraction is great. I mean, that's,
But then it comes
but,
back.
but if it's a real obsession, distraction doesn't work. And that's what I'm guessing over here. This is more than that.
Rabbi Solomon, what's the rules with Mishpacha? Is Mishpacha allowed to ask questions or no?
Mishpacha, no.
No? Okay.
No.
Go.
Except for Ellie.
That's a conspiracy over here.
Don't say that word.
Okay. So we've spoken a similar thing in the past, but now it's much tougher in a way because I sit here in my office during working hours, and most of the time I work alone. And you work alone, it's very easy to get distracted. And especially now, what's happened with the elections, it was so shocking to see all the corruption and all these things, and not going into all the details, but the point is, it just like to read it, and like it's very difficult not to want to know what's happening, and so to hear the latest what Giuliani is saying, and Kahena, and
Yeah.
and I know that I've learned Sfarim say that that during war you shouldn't listen to the radios because it gives koich l'tzitrachen, and because it gets broken and it gives koich l'tzitrachen. And I know that, and then I give in. I beat myself up. Why did I give in for? And I know I should know better than that. And why am I doing this? And like So is there like a way to set a time, like a few minutes a day, just to see what's happening, or do you think it's what's the best mahalach?
Okay, it sounds like Ellie is asking how to handle situation when things are you can't resist wasting time on things that you have no control over, and it just make you more upset anyway. And we have this, so many ways and so many different times how to get it out of our lives and what's the best way to do it. There's no magical way. I like to say that in recent times, maybe you'll appreciate this, Ellie, but politics has replaced sports. Sports is pretty obsessive. And for many Americans anyway, they're totally, even Israelis, by the way, they're obsessed with sports. And people found out during this corona that, sports is not that important. They stopped sports a little bit. There's no fans. And you know what? People are living. It's shocking. One of the reasons that people are coping so well is because they have a replacement. And the replacement is politics. And politics is like sports. It became two sides. You're rooting for one side. You hate the other side. And before you know it, you're locked in and you're watching. It's the same as baseball or football. It's almost the same idea. And as you know, it's not easy to do it. It's almost addictive. And this politics stuff is addictive. And I find myself getting caught up also. There are two basic things with any addiction. Some people are able to wean themselves off slowly, and some people need to go cold turkey. I say try the first one first. Try to limit yourself. Keep a log of how much time you're spending and try to cut it down every day by a little bit. Be reasonable about it, but make it a project. Make it actually keep notes on. I spent 4 hours a day today. I spent 3 hours a day today, and tomorrow I'm going to knock it off by 10 minutes. And the next I'm going to knock it off another 5 minutes. Or this week, my project is 20 minutes less this week. And wean yourself off almost like a drug. And that can work for many people. Many people are able to do it. It's not so simple. And some people, they'll find it's not working. And you have to go cold turkey. I've done that myself. I did it once with medication and I almost jumped out the window. It's not a good idea, but if you have no choice and you really want to get rid of it, and of course this is not a dangerous thing, you could try going cold turkey, because it's the truth is that it's a waste of time, a big waste of time, and I'm nichshel in it the way many people are, and I'm texting it to my friends, and they're sending back to me. Oh, did you see what she said today? And Powell said this today, and Giuliani said today. And before you know it, and we're going to take it down. And Georgia. I'm ready to move to Georgia. Just to let's see what's going on over there. Hailing to Georgia. There's people, my friends in Atlanta, they're the celebrities now. So I don't know what how else to tell you, but you have to work on it, because the truth is, it takes over, it brings anxiety, and it is a waste of time. I'm going to give you a quote again from Noach Weinberg. Noach Weinberg said, "Killing time is suicide on the installment plan." How's that? Killing time is suicide on the installment plan. That man never wasted a minute. I'm not saying we're up to that. But we are.
Here, this is important. You never know. It could be a second. You gotta know. You gotta know.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll let you know.
Because what happened now, it's not just plain politics. It never happened before.
That's true. It never happened before, and it's probably not happening now either. So let's get real, Menachem. Right?
Yeah. The question is what he was able to do till now.
I'm sorry.
We think we can do something. But there's nothing we can do.
No.
Okay, next question. This is from a 35-year-old single young woman. My problem is decisions. I just can't make decisions. I've had several opportunities to marry, but I couldn't pull the trigger. I'm never sure of what to do. The world has gotten so crazy that I question every move I make. Where to live, who to marry, who to vote for, mask, not to mask, vaccine, not vaccine. Even small decisions drive me crazy, like buying clothes, makeup, where to go for Shabbos. am I nuts or it's everyone going through this?
I reserve nuts for the eating kind. I don't use the word nuts for people, so I can't tell her if she's nuts. If she is, she's in very good company, because a lot of us nuts are walking around, and a lot of people are having difficulty making decisions. It's not that unusual. It sounds like it's a little chronic for her, though. Rabbi Menachem, I'm going to quote him again, used to say, the truth is that the whole world is crazy. This is back then. The whole world is crazy. The only difference between the Yidden and the Goyim is that we know we're crazy. That's a big difference. Once you know it, it's a very big difference. But to answer her question more, it seems like I meet a lot of people who have a tremendous need. Ready for this? They have a tremendous need to be absolutely sure about things. They can't decide things unless they know them. I can't decide what to buy because I don't really know if that dress is nice or not, and I don't really know where to go for Shabbos because maybe one, and I'd like to know which one, and every decision suddenly becomes a test in how much do I know. That is a very dangerous neighborhood to live in, because you're going to find out, even not in the days of Corona, you're going to find out that, guess what, folks? We don't know a lot of things in this world, and we don't know almost anything that is really certain. We know there is a Banish and we know that for certain, but most things in life, we don't even know at all. And this I'm talking about forever. Do we really know things? We have to get into a place, a comfortable place where we can toss things into that bin that says we don't know, and it's okay that we don't know. We make decisions in this world based on probability. Everything we do, we're making thousands of decisions a day. We don't even realize it. Every one of them is based on probability. We get in our cars because they're probably safe. We cross the street because we're probably going to make it to the other side. And every little things that we do, it's always a question, a little bit that we have, and then we think about it, and say probably, and then we do it. And that's what she needs to do. She needs to get to this place where she can accept the fact that she's never going to know things. Not only Corona, not only during the election madness and the insanity that's going on now. And it's true, and as Ellie said before, it's true. It's different than it ever was. It is true. It is different. That's true. But in terms of real knowledge, even medical decisions, not doing something because we're afraid to do it is just as much of a decision as doing something. If we decide not to have a surgery because we don't know 100% that it's going to work, that is as active a decision as having the surgery. And if the doctor tells you, look, 4 out of 5 people, get cured by this, or 3 out of 5 people get cured by this. But if you don't do it, even if you're going to run the risk of who knows what's going to happen, you feel very badly. You'd like to know 100%, maybe 90%. Sometimes you only know 65%, but you still have to do it. Sometimes you only know 55%, but if it's important enough, you do it. You have to do it. Because not doing it is also a decision.
On the smaller things, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Like the clothing, makeup, but what would you say about getting married?
Yeah, well, getting married is really no different in terms of, how many people, know that they're marrying the right person. I would say less and less. Less and less, because you know why? Because we're so smart today.
But that's scary.
It is scary. We are so smart, we have it all figured out, So, but do we really know what we're doing, even in terms of getting married? You know more.
Rabbi Solomon, somebody's texting me now. How do you know when's the right time to get divorced?
I'm sorry?
Somebody's texting. How do you know when's the right time to get divorced?
That's a great question. That's a different question. Should we deal with that question?
It's hard decisions.
I'm just putting both extremes out. You can deal with it every once. Yours.
Okay, we can deal with that question too, but it's a really very different
I can
discussion.
actually read. You know something? Let's deal with this. We'll get to the divorce question afterwards. It's a more detailed question. We'll get to it afterwards.
Look, in terms of getting married, the most important thing in that kind of decision is that everybody's got to have a priority list. You've got to know what's important and what's not. And what's important for you may not be important for me. That's true. But you getting married, you have to know what's really important. And if midos is the most important thing to you, then you don't compromise on that. And although it doesn't come from the right family, and he eats a little baba ganoush, and he's a little 30 pounds overweight, but he has fabulous midas, that's the priority for you. If that's really the priority for you, if family is very important for you, then you got to go with that. You've got to have that list, whether it's written down or in your mind. And a lot of people don't have that list. Rav Pam used to say, the reason that there are so many divorces, Rav Pam was, died a while ago already, but there were many divorces then. He said, the reason there's so many divorces is that people don't know what they want. Imagine, he said, you walk into a bus station and you walk up to the ticket counter and you say, I'd like to buy a ticket. And the guy says, sure, where do you want to go? He says, I don't know, I just want to buy a ticket. He says, well, you got to tell me where you want to go. He says, I have to tell you. I'm buying the ticket. You have the tickets. You tell me. What a bizarre situation. And yet, he said, that's what people do. That's how they're getting married. They want to buy a ticket. What? They want to get married. Where do you want to go? I have no idea. I want to go. I want to go to Lakewood. I want to go to Jackson. I want to go to Muncie. That's not where you want to go. What kind of home do you want? Have you really thought about it? Well, what kind of home do you want to build? Well, what is right for you? You need somebody who's intense, that will light a fire in you. You need someone who's laid back, who's going to let you go a little bit and encourage you. You need somebody who will instill values in your children. Know what you're doing. Don't walk into the bus station and ask for a ticket. And that's why people are getting divorced. I think there's a lot of truth to that. So that's how you decide about getting married.
Okay, Rabbi Solomon, let's go into another live question. If we go back to the divorce one, it's a little off topic, but we can go back to it if you want. Hi, sir. I'm mute.
Don't you have to? Oh, good. Yeah, you're muted. Good. I hope you can hear me.
We hear you.
Thanks. I was always curious. I somebody who grew up neglected, and I spent a lot of time just wanting to invest in myself, so to speak. I realized I was deficient in certain areas. No, I don't mean I'm just going to a yoga class. I meant to try to grow in my, professionally, and certain things that just sort of making up for I don't want to say a lost youth, but just a crummy one. And then sometimes I feel this guilt that I'm not doing enough to either bring Mashiach or be involved with people or just worry about I guess to contribute more. Although I do actually give. I try to give tzedakah. I try to do what I can. But there's always this feeling of seeing others that are out there achieving, and I wasn't on that. I didn't personally think I was on that level. I mean, or that ability. Where do you draw the line? You need time to work on yourself versus are you ignoring? Am I being totally selfish by ignoring others? Or, neglecting, overlooking what maybe might be more important. I don't know what. I don't know what you would consider a balance or
Well, one thing I could tell you is that I think we need a few more people like you that are thinking about what they should be doing. Mm-hmm. I think most people, as we started off saying, we're zombies, and our brains are fried, and we're just basically we're on lockdown in the brain. But you're not like that. At least you're thinking about what you should be doing. So kol hakavod. I think that's a wonderful thing that you're really considering it. However, you mentioned guilt. You can take that too far. You can take that too far. See, guilt is a wonderful thing because it keeps us in line. You feel guilty about something, you do tshuva, you think about it, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But too much guilt is a terrible thing. The excess of anything is terrible, but guilt is one of those things. You have too much guilt. See, the Satan is very brilliant. The Satan comes, as we say it every night, the Hasar Satan milfanenu me'acharenu. He comes to us before and says, don't do that mitzvah. And then he comes after, me'acharenu also, and say, oh, why did you do that? He doesn't let go of us. That Satan is brilliant and it just keeps gnawing at us. And I think that, Chai Sarah, you have like an overactive guilt mechanism that keeps you wondering and pressuring yourself, and you've got to let that go. It's good to wonder and think about what's right. You'll never reach that perfect balance that you're asking about, but ease up on yourself. You're way too hard on yourself. You're a good person. You're trying to do your best. You can't do better than your best, and you're trying very hard. Ease up, cut yourself some slack, accept yourself, saying, I'm trying to do my best and doing whatever I can do, and stop feeling guilty. When you do that, you'll see that you'll even be more productive.
I think this is very important for a lot of people, which I see, just to be able to accept themselves, because the real growth could only come after you're okay with the way you are. You know, it could be, I do this, I should do more of that. You know, like you said, guilty, I'm not sure, but to really be okay with where I am.
Yeah.
And then see, okay, so what else can I do?
Yeah, it's a big problem. A lot of people can't do it.
Okay, Rabbi Solomon, can we jump into the mail question that every male has?
I don't think so, but you're going to do it anyway. So
We're gonna do it anyway, right? This is live, so there's no backsies.
that's right.
Okay, so the question that probably resonates with most males. We got a few of them, but I'm just going to combine two of them. It's basically similar. I have a job, my wife works, and we just can't make ends meet. I'm struggling. I don't see a way out. What's the right approach with bitachon? That's question A. Question B. I work so hard to achieve a goal financially, educationally, relationship, and it's just not working. I am frustrated. What can I do? I'm about to give up.
Well, don't give up. We don't allow that. Don't give up. That's the simple answer. A lot of people, I'm not making fun of this, a lot of people are struggling financially, and it hurts their self-esteem, of course, because if they're not making it, everybody's suffering. It's just horrible. And especially in the last 6 months, you know, businesses are going out and people are just not making it, people getting laid off. A lot of pressure, loads of pressure in terms of bitachon. Look, I always looked at bitachon in a way that says, you remember the mashal of the Hashlech al Hashem Yahavta, the mashal that was given, I think it's a Gemara in Megillah, and the mashal that's given, and I'll make it into today's times. Let's say you live in Flatbush. We have some Flatbush people over there, and you're driving down Coney Island Avenue. And as you're driving down Coney Island Avenue, you hit Avenue J and you pass a bus stop, and there waiting at your bus stop is a good friend of yours. And he is standing there and he's crouched over and he's got this huge box on his back. And who knows what he's carrying in there. And he's standing by the bus stop and it's raining and who knows how long it could take till he finds a bus. So what are you going to do? You pull over, of course. You pull over, you roll down the window, you say, Yossi, get in the car, get in the car. So Yossi says, oh, I'm so happy. Thanks so much. He opens up the back door and he gets into the back and he's happy. Thank you so much. He's riding along. And as he's riding along, he looks in the rear view mirror and he sees, and Yossi sees in the back is his friend who he just got in, and he's sitting in the back, ready? And he still has the box on his back. He's sitting in the back seat of the car, but he never put the box down. So he pulls over to the curb, and he turns around to him and says, "What are you, crazy? Is that why I picked you up? So you should sit in the back seat and put the box on your shoulders? I'm driving the car. Put the box down. I'm driving you anyway. It doesn't not heavier for me if you put the box down. Just put the box down." So I think that bitachon works that way. When we say Hashleich al Hashem Yahavcha, put your burdens on Hashem. You know, what does that mean? You know what that means? It's a recognition that He's carrying us anyway. It doesn't hurt to put your burdens down on the Ribono Shel Olam. He's doing it anyway. He's keeping you going. He's giving you oxygen. He's allowing you to live, to breathe. Everything you have is from Him. When you understand that, then you say, okay, I can put the box down also. It's just another piece that anyway he's carrying. So if He's carrying everything else, He can certainly carry that box too. So that's my message to people who are struggling. Look, people are going through nisyonos, and everybody's going through nisyonos, and nisyonos are very, very difficult. But the truth is, and I was speaking with my chavrusa today, Chaim Shmuel Friedman, and we were talking about this and saying we have the wrong attitude about nisyonos. Nisyonos properly explained and defined is opportunities. Ribono Shel Olam gave everybody famous 10 nisyonos to Avraham Avinu. You know what? Avraham Avinu was the first one who recognized Ribono Shel Olam. Why is He giving him nisyonos? He should be giving him schar. He should be giving him love. He should be giving him everything he wants. What does He give him? One nisyon after the other. Him? He needs nisyonos? Well, He's the one who recognized you. The answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu understood that He wants to help Avraham Avinu grow, as great as he is. But with every nisayon, he grew again and again. And these people who are struggling, and people, so many of us, whether it be with parnasa, whether it be with fears and anxiety, whether it be with kids off the derech nebuch and shidduchim, and so many problems. Every nisayon is an opportunity to grow. It's easy for me to say sitting here, I understand that. I understand that. You're right. I'm not going through the same thing that you're going through. I have my own nisayon, and we all do. We all never should trade anybody's pekel for another one. But every nisayon should be looked at as a Kadosh Baruch Hu saying to us, I want you to grow. And when you come out of this, you're going to be a better person. And you are. You're going to grow as a person. It's going to be difficult. And it's like a gym, and you're working out. And the more you push yourself and the more it hurts, the greater, more muscles you're going to get. And you're going to be stronger and stronger. And you will emerge, unless you look at that and you say, I'm giving up. I don't want any part of it. If you don't want any part of it, you're not going to grow. And that's what we're here for. We're here to grow. So if you want to grow, you're going to have to accept those nisyonos. That's the way to do it. That is the way that we grow. So that's my message to them.
Okay, so I'm going to jump onto a question that's from a woman. It's also probably more woman related. I find day-to-day life as a mother with all the children exhausting. And I know everyone talks about self-care. It just doesn't work for me. Everything I tried. What else could you suggest so I could stay sane in an insane world?
It doesn't work for her. I assume she means that self-care, that means that she can't handle. Asha, what do you think? Is that what she means? She can't handle.
They tell you self-care, go get a pedicure, go get a manicure. So she probably tried it once, it didn't work. So she's looking for option B.
Oh, I mean, she'll take care of herself, that will do it.
The first thing that you tell somebody when they're having a hard time, you say, go do self-care. So she says she's trying self-care, but it's not, she's not being successful with self-care. So either A, she didn't do it right, or B, is there another option?
Well, I think you really have to find out. First of all, not every woman has the same motherly instinct as another one. There are some that can handle 12 kids easily, and I know women like that. And there are some that have 2 kids and they're exhausted, and they say, well, what am I doing? So, each person has his own different set of capacity. So she has to ask herself, what is my capacity? And maybe she needs to have help for the kids also. Maybe she needs to have programming where the kids can go out more and they cannot be under her feet so much. Maybe she has a sister or a niece that will come into the house and will relieve her a little bit. She's got to get practical. It's not only about, getting the manicure. It's about, what is going to be practical way to ease my burden and to make my life more enjoyable, and it doesn't mean she shouldn't feel guilty that she's going to be spending less time with the kids. In all likelihood, the time she's spending with them is no great time either if she resents having to be with them. So she's better off trying to look for help on the outside and maybe trying to grow in her own ruchnius so that she could accept the difficulty.
Many people have a hard time asking for help, realizing they need help, or in being vulnerable and telling somebody, I actually need help. And like you're saying, sometimes you just have to be able to do that to continue. We all want to do it on our own.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that. Sometimes I look at help, there are people that are never asked for help. They just can't do it. And I think that in a way, and they should excuse me for saying this, but in a way they're being very selfish. Because without takers, there are no givers. If you only give and you don't take, you are depriving someone else of giving to you. And sometimes you need to take. And it can hurt. Because, I can't. It's the last thing I want to do. It says, yeah, but it's a gift to allow someone else to give to you. When you do that, it's a great feeling to be needed. And when you take from somebody else, you're making that person feel needed. You know what a great feeling that is? When people come to you, Menachem, and they need something, you feel good. You have a purpose. Nabasha, when you come and people are asking you about, what to do, you feel good. You're having a project, you're having a program, and people need you. It's a great feeling. And people who don't know how to take, they're depriving other people of that great feeling.
Works very well.
It's selfish.
It feeds well for narcissism.
Yeah, right.
Somebody's texting me a question, so I'm going to ask the question, but I want to take it out and make it a little bit more broad. The question the person's texting is, how do you move forward after divorce without feeling that you ruined your life and your children's life? That's the person's specific question, but I want to take it to the next level, more like a charata. Like somebody does something and they feel like they messed up or they did something terribly bad. They're done with it, whatever it is. Now they look back in retrospect, they shouldn't have done it. I'm not going to use it as a stressor, but it is lingering. How do you move on from something that you went through and you need to move forward?
It's a little bit of a different question. Now you're putting it in one barrel there. It's a nice try, but it's a little bit of a different situation because a divorce, most of the time, is something that was very necessary. I've seen many couples who divorced, and it's very rare that I've seen people got divorced when it really wasn't necessary, or people didn't feel like it was necessary. So there shouldn't be any guilt about that. More often than not, they saved their kids with a divorce rather than ruin their kids' lives. Yeah, there's a price to pay. Yes, it will have an effect on the children, but the children seeing a horrible marriage is no picnic, and it's not going to be a great life for them anyway. So more than likely, there's no guilt involved over here. The divorce that they went through is because it was a smart thing to do. You've got to look at it and remember time and time again that you did it for a reason and that you were probably suffering. And there's no mitzvah to suffer, and there's no mitzvah to put your kids through that and watch them have a miserable mother and a miserable father. So, I'm not saying that I'm pro-divorce and people should get divorced easily. I'm not saying that. And don't quote me. Don't start calling me and send me my threatening emails and et cetera, et cetera. But there is time for it, and there's no reason to look back and have charot about it. You probably did it for a very good reason. The second part of your question how to move on after something is something that I think we spoke about before of a hasar satam u'fneinu ma'acharenu. Guilt, the excessive guilt is absolutely debilitating. You would not believe the people that I see that cannot move on with their lives because of something that they did. And frankly, it's like it's a slap in the face, if I use an extreme expression, but it's a slap in the face to our Torah. Our Torah and Rabbi Solomon gave us one of the greatest gifts possible, and that is tshuva. Why should tshuva work? Could you imagine you walk into a beis din, walk into a secular court, and you committed a crime, and you say chatasi or visi poshati, and you clap a little bit in court, this and that, and you know what? Also, Kabbalah Allah said, "I'm never going to do it again." And the judge says, "Oh, if that's the case, you're welcome to go free." That's how they would shut that court down faster than they do it in Pennsylvania. So what's going on? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his infinite wisdom and gift to us, says you can wipe the slate clean. Tshuva can actually, but you can take zdainos and they can become zachyos. A good tshuva completely wipes the slate clean, as if it never happened. So by you saying that you can't let go of something that you did, you're saying, I don't really believe in tshuva. I mean, that's the way I look at it, unless your tshuva was faulty. But if you have real charata and you have real Kabbalah and your tshuva is complete, there's no reason in the world that you have to sit and suffer and feel guilty and destroy yourself and be depressed and say, I'll never be the same, I'll never forgive myself. What do you mean you'll never forgive yourself? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is forgiving you. How dare you say you'll never forgive yourself? You have a responsibility to forgive yourself. Speaking a little too strongly, but you have a responsibility to forgive yourself because Rabbi Solomon says, I'm doing it. Don't be better than Rabbi Solomon. Don't say, I hold myself to a different standard. Oh, really? It's good enough for the Rabbi Solomon. I think it should be good enough for you. We all make mistakes. There's no such thing as a person who doesn't even have mistakes. No such thing. Even our greatest people make mistakes and do averis. And Chazal make a big point of teaching us about the misgivings and the trials, tribulations of our greatest people, to show us that we all had problems. Everybody, every single one of us. It's not only your job; it's your responsibility to forgive yourself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is setting the bar. He's a role model. He's saying to you that he's saying to salachti, and you have to do the same thing.
Salomon, the person who asked the question about the divorce and the charata says, I'm crying from your answer.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You'll find out tomorrow when you get the email.
Some movement.
Tears can go either way, but thank you for that. I really look at it that way. And a lot of people don't forgive themselves. That's not the Yiddish way. And it's not easy. You have to work on yourself, but that's what you have to do.
What would you tell to a person who walks into your office? He says he's Baruch Hashem married with 4 kids, but he needs help getting out of depression. And the other thing he mentions is he tried looking for a career. He's not sure what career he's looking for, and he doesn't feel any sipuk. He's been working for many years without sipuk.
Well, I would say certainly that you have to consider that his depression is related to that. Of course, there are a lot of people working without sipuk who are not depressed. He's using the word depression, but a lot of people use that word. It's a funny word. It's a word that just gets thrown around. I feel depressed. Depression is a clinical term. And needs to be diagnosed and treated seriously. So I don't know if he means that he really feels a clinical depression or he feels upset. If he has no sipuk in what he does and he needs that very badly, then he's got to find some other way to do it. A lot of people are working in offices and working at jobs that they don't have SIPC in, but you know what? Pays the bills and they don't really care. And I say, go ahead, why not? I think that happens a lot. I don't think that your SIPC has to come from your job. That's a big mistake. You could be sitting home for many years looking for a job with SIPC. So don't necessarily look for that, but there are other ways to get SIPC. You can volunteer for an organization. You can write an article. You can do chasadim. You can become a bal tefillah. You can be the gabbai of your shul. You can put together a dinner. There are thousands of things and projects today. Mikamcha Yisrael. You can do so many things. So you can get SIPC in a lot of ways. But if you're really depressed and it's a serious depression, there are a lot of very sophisticated ways and new ways that people are treating depression. Besides medication, a lot of people are taking medication. I encourage people to take medication. A lot of those medications are not working. I just have to tell you, my son, who I think is on this chat somewhere, has a fantastic new treatment called TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is very helpful for depression. You can look up TMS, Google it and see it. People are finding it. It's a non-invasive way of treating depression, helping a lot of people. They're great strides, great medical strides. Even the medications are much more sophisticated. The SSRIs that came about like 20 years ago are much more sophisticated than the old medications for depression. So you need a good friend. Sometimes you need medication, or sometimes you need TMS, or sometimes you're just not really depressed, but you need to find a different way to find your SIPC than in your job. There are ways out there. There are so many things going on. Find your ticket, find your path.
Many people have grown the way they grew up and went through the system. They're basically in a box doing what everybody else does, and got married, get work, and the kids, and then for some reason they turn around and like they call it SIPC. But then you mentioned you got to become creative, and becoming creative for some people it can be very hard, especially if it's years and years of just doing what everybody else does. And now you're going to tell them to think of different things. So it could take time till you start thinking of different things. Sometimes it doesn't. They don't think about it.
Yeah, don't waste your life, folks. We're only here for a limited amount of time. I know that's a big chiddush to you. We don't like to think about that. But I mentioned earlier that, I don't know if everybody heard it, some of you came on later, but killing time is suicide on the installment plan. Nobody wants to do that. And a lot of us are just killing time or wasting our time, or, just listening to Rudy Giuliani and Tucker Carlson, or whoever it is that they're listening to. And, it's a lot of fun and entertainment, but unless you're spending some good time otherwise doing something real and doing something that's beneficial and something that you will enjoy and you'll get real satisfaction from, it's chaval. You're really, got to look elsewhere.
Okay, Rabbi Solomon, we're getting a lot of questions. Let's try to get some more in before it gets late.
Okay.
Here we go. You're up.
Hi, thank you so much for your time. I just want to actually focus on what you just said about the killing time. What if you're like, your day from the second you get up in the morning until when you go to sleep at night is really on overload, and sometimes you really just want to kill time to like breathe? Is that a problem? Because like I really feel like sometimes I need to just do nothing and literally kill time, and it sounds horrible to waste your time like that, but it's really what gives me the sanity back to myself in order just to like ground myself. So is there a problem with actually doing that?
I'm so lucky that you asked that question, because I think I was giving the wrong impression. And I don't want to leave here with people saying that, you have to use every second of your day or else you're over baltashtas. So I'm so glad you brought it up. Absolutely. Not only is it okay, it's a chiyuv, and that you'll shoot me for saying that. But if you don't spend some time off, I mean, even bachrim get bein hazmanim. Even during the day they get bein hastarim. You get a time to take off and relax and chill. And you absolutely need that, and especially today when there's more anxiety than ever. Don't for a second think that you should be spending every second and feeling guilty when you take some time off and kill it. You sit down with that coffee or that Mishpacha magazine or an old program of Getting Real here with Coach Menachem and watching it, and it's not killing time. I shouldn't say, whoops, I went in the wrong direction for that one. And using your time in a way that's not so productive, that's perfectly not only fine, but it is essential. So I'm glad you brought it up. You definitely, of course, you got everything with measure. I try. Most important word in life to me is balance. I mean, that's the most, to me, I've tried to live my life like that. That's the hardest word, but that's the most important word. You've got to balance your life, and everybody has his own scale. Everybody's got his own balance. You got to know how much you can take and how much you need. Now, everybody's got his own thing, but definitely you need some combination of the two.
And if that killing time is sometimes just checking in on what's going on the news with the presidency or whatever it is.
Great, perfect. I love it.
It doesn't sound like killing time.
As long as less than 8 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds pretty productive. It doesn't sound like killing time. So if it's needed, it's productive.
That's a good point, right? It actually is productive. It's a Yerida L'Tzarech Aliyah, we call it. You see, you got to go down.
I feel less guilty, Baruch Hashem.
You got to go down to go up. When you lift that weight, you bend your knees first and you go down, right? That's what you got to do. You have to. You're on a bad road if you just keep going like that. You're going to burn out fast. And Nebuch, there are kids who burn out. There are kids who don't take a break and they're learning 16 hours a day. And it needs to be said publicly. There are very, 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 very few that can withstand that. Very, very few. So be careful.
Okay, Rabbi Solomon, let's go. Next live.
Yes, sir.
Unmute.
Yes, Rabbi Yaakov. There's so many, Baruch Hashem, so many givers like you, like Rabbi Menachem here, Coach Menachem, that listen and hear the pain and the suffering that people have, or at least imagined that they have, and they want to dissipate, they want to give it away, they want to help them. Some of us, as parents, all of us, perform this role. How should we deal with what happens from the impact of what we feel? How should we balance our lives so we can feel like we can survive and we can continue to give and not succumb, not fall in any way, not to lose bitachon, not to lose our happiness, not our simcha, nothing. How can we go forward? How do you do it? How does Coach Menachem do it?
You only see us in public.
It's a good point, Menachem. You're asking, when you give and when you hear people's problems and maybe in your own families or whoever they are, it can be overwhelming. And how do you cope? Not long ago, I love this thought. Not long ago, I saw in a book by Rabbi Pelkowitz. Rabbi Pelkowitz and his son wrote a book together. And I was flipping through the pages, as I often do, and just, not reading the whole thing. And it stopped on a page. And on that page, this is what it said. Ready? It said that being happy and being besimcha are not the same thing. I said, oh, I got to read this. What does that mean? Usually we translate simcha as happiness. They said that being happy is a secular concept. Being besimcha is a Yiddish concept. What's the difference? Ready? This difference is, he said that happy, the shirish of the word happy, but Menachem, tell me if you heard this before. The shirish of the word happy is happen. Happen, like happenstance. When people get happy? When they win the lottery, when their team wins, when their president becomes president, when you fall in love, you meet a girl. Yeah, now I'm happy. Now I'm happy. Things just happen. They just happen, and that's how you get happy. The shirish of simcha is, take the word sameach, and the shirish is sam mayach. Sin mem ches, sam mayach. wherever you put your brain, that's how you get happy. So even when you hear tsaros and you hear difficult things, and we all do, but we are still in charge. The Eibishter gave us in charge of our brains. And for us, we can think in a way that says, wherever I put my brain, that's where I'm going to be happy. Rav Pam Zechrano Livracha used to say, I remember in his shmuzin all the time, he used to say, he said like this, and he said, and I believe he said, and I saw this in the Reader's Digest. He said, and he said, and he said, people are searching for the city of happiness. They will find it in the state of mind. What a beautiful expression. Some mayach, wherever you put your brain, that's where you'll be b'simcha. It's not easy. You have to train your brain. You have to train the brain. You got to make sure that it's in the right place, and then you can be b'simcha. And you see people who suffer greatly, and they have tremendous simcha, and we marvel at them and say, how can these people, the Rebbe Reb Zusha, how are you happy? His brain was so perfect. His head was so right. Wherever you put your head in, and there are people there who's suffering, even in the hospitals, even with terminal illnesses, Rahmanul Litzlan, and you know what, you see them and they're happy, and you go, how do they do it? It's some moyach. It's not what happens to you. That's not what makes you happy. It's wherever you decide to put your thoughts, and you can put your thoughts in the right place and realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing always the right thing for you, and even the difficult things is the right thing for you, and you can be b'simcha, and you can be happy. And I thank you for somehow being misheard of me to think of that difference.
Thank you. Okay, Rabbi Solomon, somebody texted, what time is Mincha? An inside joke. Let's go to closing. First, I want to say thank you to everybody. Again, first, Rabbi Yaakov Salomon coming on tonight. People are texting. The speaker's amazing. He gave us so much chizik. I'm getting a bunch of texts over here. Rabbi Solomon, you should just know him chazik. As you see how many hundreds of people are here tonight. That's 10,000 people will watch it. So thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Big schus to me. Thank you. Thanks for the
yes. Again, I want to thank tonight's sponsor. Tonight's sponsor was the Lazili Group. It's a recruiting agency that does executive level placements, whether you're looking for a new job or for a better opportunity, or if you're a company that's looking for executive, please feel free to reach out. Confidentiality is the utmost importance. Resumes or inquiries can be sent to resumes, RESUMES, @lazuli.com. That's THELAZULI.com, or send a message to 347-452-1880. Thank you again for being the sponsor. Again, next week is going to be Hanukkah, so there will be no share. Everybody enjoy your Hanukkah parties, enjoy your latkes. Menachem, what are we doing Hanukkah? What's the story? What's the plans?
Regroup,
rethink, and the Menachem will see everybody December 20th. It's going to be an amazing share with Matis Miller. I'm sure Rabbi Yaakov Salomon knows him. He wrote a book on basically putting DBT therapy into dealing with difficult children. Again, it's going to be very analytical type of, Matis is very by the book. So it should be very, very deep and good. I advise everybody to please come the 20th. Rabbi Solomon, you ready for this? I'll tell you something. You ready?
Okay.
We have 30 pending speakers for the show.
Wow.
secrets.
Wow.
Just to let you know.
That's a little scary.
It's a little scary. So I'm just letting you know that Baruch Hashem, we're really doing over here a tremendous thing. Coach Menachem for opening this program, for being mechazik so many people. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Menachem. You're welcome. Anytime. Okay. And again, everything is recorded here tonight. It'll be available tomorrow on Menachem's website, menachembernfeld.com. If anybody has any questions for Rabbi Solomon, you have an email or contact or something, you want to give it out?
Yaakov Salomon at Gmail.
That's Yaakov Salomon at Gmail.
YAAKOVSALOMON.
Got it. And anybody wants to email Menachem, it's coachmenachem@gmail.com. Again, tonight's share 31. You could listen to it on menachembernfeld.com. There's on all the podcasts on Apple and Spotify. And please listen to it. It's beautiful stuff. We have already 31 shiurim, so it's really covered some serious topics. Again, I want to thank all our advertising sponsors, Lakewood Scoop. I want to thank Rabbi Yaniv Chazak for always promoting us. Special thank you to Chayla Kalpin and Shmuel Summer from JCN Network for always promoting us. Thank you to Z Stender, who makes high quality stenders. popular Z adjustment sit or stand model is available. It's customized. You can put your personal engraving. Go to zstender.com. That's zstand.com. Perfect Hanukkah gift. Want to buy me one? Okay. Again, let's go to closing. Coach Menachem, closing words.
Thank you very much, Rabusha, and thank you, Rabbi Solomon. I think I picked up a lot tonight. And before closing, I just want to mention, sometimes people can be under stress and they can't even hear what we're discussing. Sometimes they can't see any lights at the end of the tunnel. They don't see any way out. And that's what makes it worse. But they do have to somehow, like we discussed, a little bit of acceptance about that. That's after the anger, which when there's a process that you go through. That when you go through the grief, doesn't have to be losing somebody. It's just any situation that you don't like. There's a mahalach for it till you get to the accepting part. But the stress, the negativity, automatically it hits you. And you feel the panic, you feel the negativity inside, deep inside, and it takes you over sometimes. So what I would advise everyone is take a few minutes of your day consciously. It can be even 5 minutes, and actively declutter. You have to find something that you do for a few minutes every day so that you could just take in a little positivity, like deep breathing, whatever thing you have. Because if you don't, automatically the negativity, the stress takes over, and it can be 100% of the day. But if you can take just 5%, a few minutes of the day, put in a little bit of positivity, a little bit of things that help for the stress to make it a little bit better, then slowly, you can get to a better place and change the way we think. And hopefully, Mitzvah Hashem, with Siyata D'Shmaya, Tefillah, we will see everybody in their situation, how we can have growth, and in Mitzvah Hashem, get out and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you very much. And everybody should have a Freilich Hanukkah.
Thank you, Menachem. Rabbi Yaakov Salomon, leave the oilam with divrei chizuk, feeling inspired, stress-free. Give us the Xanax. The floor is yours.
I have one final thought, which I do want to share. It's really one of my favorite thoughts, and we spoke a lot about this connection with Ribono Shel Olam and how to do it through tefillah, etc., and the fact that bitachon. Let me demonstrate it for you in a very real way, and it's a little bit of an exercise. Okay, and this I'll close. Let's take a visit to the library. Remember the library, the New York Public Library, the New Jersey Public Library, still around. I don't know if you can still go there. Let's go there and let's use a secular example, okay? Let's take a famous secular author, and we're gonna do an experiment. A famous author, let's say Stephen King. I don't know if you ever heard of Stephen King. I never read any of his books, but he's a very famous author. He has written 61 books in his lifetime. He has sold 350 million books in his lifetime. Now, here's the experiment. I want you to go over to the shelf, take out every one of his books, all 61 of his books, and put them on the table face up. Okay? Now, I am going to go over to that table in my magical way, and I will tell you, having never read a single book of his, I will tell you the sequence in which these 61 books were written. You think I can do it? No. I never even heard of his book. I know the first book he ever wrote was Carrie. And I know that the last book he ever wrote was If It Bleeds. I looked it up before, and that's the book he wrote this year. And in between, he wrote 59 other books. I'm going to take all 61 books, and having never read one, I'm not going to touch them even. I'm just going to point it out. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will get the sequence of his books. Can I do it? You're shaking your heads, folks. The answer is you're right. I cannot do it. but I can get pretty close, and I'm going to tell you how. And with this, we'll understand how to connect with Rabbi Solomon. Ready? You see, I never saw that first book that he wrote, Carrie, but I'm willing to put money down that the cover of that book looks like this. Carrie by Stephen King. And the last book that he wrote, If It Bleeds, I haven't seen the cover yet, but I'm betting that it looks like this. If It Bleeds by Stephen King. You see, the more famous he gets, the bigger his name gets on the cover. And the title gets smaller and smaller. You know why? Because it comes a time when we don't really care what the title is. You go into the store and you say, can I have the new Stephen King book? Oh, you want If It Bleeds? I don't know, whatever the name is, give me the, because you're a Stephen King fan. You don't know the titles. You don't even know you care about the titles. You just, whatever he wrote, you want to read. So Carrie is very big. Stephen King is very small. The next one, the title gets a little smaller, his name gets a little bigger. And the more famous he gets, the bigger his name gets and the smaller the title gets. Am I right? I think so. So I think I'm going to get pretty close. You see, there are some people in this world, you could look at the title and some people look at the author. If you want to get close to the Rabbi Solomon and reduce your anxiety, you will look at the author. You don't really care about the titles anymore. All the titles don't matter. Every one of them is the author. I see there are some people here who are Hasidim of the great Rabbi Avigdor Miller, Zechron Livracha. That's how he lived his life. He took every single thing that we saw and he saw the author. He took apple seeds and saw the author. A tree took a leaf and he saw the author in it. That's what we have to do. We have to find a way that we should be able to see everything that goes on in this world and forget about the title. And even it could be sorrows and it could be difficult things, it could be wonderful things. It's all Rabbi Solomon. Every single thing we do, every hair, every follicle we have, every nail that falls off, every leaf in the forest, every car on the highway, every tiny slice of life, it's all Rabbi Solomon. When you can substitute the titles for the author and constantly see Hashem in your life, you will have menuchas hanefesh. You'll have yishuv hadas. Everything will be fine because then you'll know he's in charge because everything is his. Kol ha'olam kulay. That's our job. Our job is to go to the library and take out the books, but forget about the titles. It's all about the author. When you connect with that author, everything else doesn't matter. So that's my bracha to all of you. Menachem, you do tremendous work. Even this alone, besides whatever else you do. Abusher, you guys created a monster, as I told you. And I look at this whole thing, all these hundreds and hundreds of people and everybody, and I say, you know what? I'm not even looking at the names because those are the titles. I see the Rabbi Solomon. Rabbi Solomon is in everybody's life, and he put this together. I know you think you created the monster. He put it together. He brought Corona for whatever reason. Believe me, he doesn't want Corona as much as more than we don't want Corona. But we're trying to grow from it. It came out of this. This is one of the great things that came out of that. We have a community. We have people able to reach out, people able to face their problems. It's a tremendous thing. You take this and you say, it's all part of the author. It's part of his master plan. So that's what we have to do. Take all those pieces of our lives and all those things and say, it's putting it all on the author and say, this is the Rabbi Solomon, and I'm just one small piece of the puzzle. I'm a dot on the screen. You see, we're all dots on the screen lining up. I don't care if you have speaker view or tile view or this view or fonts and or all those little tiles playing in this giant scheme, the giant play on Broadway. There is no Broadway anymore. Yeah, he took care of that too. Everything. So if you look at that and you understand your place in the world and that's what your place is, you'll be besimcha, samayach. You put your head in the right place. When you put your head in the right place, you'll have no more daigas, no more worries. Worry is gone already because you're all just living in his hands. And we'll all be al kanfei nesharim and go to Eretz Yisrael, and we'll be greeting the great Mashiach. Tzidkenu b'meira b'yameinu amen. Thank you.
Okay. Shkoyach, Rabbi Solomon. Everybody have a fair Chanukah. We'll see you December 20th.
Shkoyach.
Thank you, everybody.